welcome back. I'm so excited about today's practice. Today we are focusing on two of my favorite things. We're focusing on heart openers and chocolate. And this is a topic that I'm really excited about if you can't tell already. Now, why would we do those two things together? Chocolate is an aphrodisiac, so it naturally gives you this sensation of opening the heart. When we do these heart opening yoga practices, we also get this sense of expansion, of awakening, of aliveness through the center of the body. And although it's kind of an energetic concept, it can literally translate to us feeling in love. So this is a great practice to do if you love chocolate. This is a great practice to do if you love restorative yoga, because the poses that we will be doing are very soothing as well as uplifting. So in terms of props today, definitely recommend a bolster or a big comfy pillow, a few blankets, 2 at least. If you don't have blankets, you can use towels. Yoga blocks, 2 of them are optional, and then chocolate. Get your favorite chocolate out, because at the end of this practice, we are going to be doing a mindful chocolate tasting. So get everything ready and get your playlist. I've also linked that into the description below. And once you have those things, meet me on your mat and we'll get started. So once you have your mat set up, come and meet me on hands and knees. We're just going to be rolling through a little bit of movement before we get into some more restorative shapes. And the movement that we're going to be taking off with to start is just to kind of open the spine in all 4 directions. That is flexion, extension, side bending, and rotation. And that opening the spine is part of heart opening as well. So we'll start off on hands and knees. You can keep your socks on if you want. Again, we'll be doing some cooling practices, so it's nice to stay warm here. Come into tabletop, wrists underneath shoulders, knees underneath hips, and then just to get that flexion and extension in, start to roll through a few rounds of cat and cow. So make these small to start. You're just arching and rounding the spine. Inhaling into cow pose, shoulders draw in, heart lifts. Exhaling into your cat pose, round the upper back. Inhaling into your cow, shoulder blades hug in. Exhale into cat, round. And then take a few more rounds like this, moving at your pace. Good, come back to neutral, and then just swish your hips a little side to side, and as you do, gaze over your shoulder. So as your hips come right, your gaze comes right. Hips come left, gaze comes left. So just a little bit of side body opening here. Again, you want to start small, and then you can eventually make these a little bit bigger if that's what your body craves. But if you want to stay small, that's also okay. Back through your center, take your right hand, place it down underneath your nose, and then lift your left arm up to the ceiling. Take a breath in here, and then as you exhale, you'll thread that left arm underneath you. And we'll pulse that just a few times. Inhale, reach your left arm up to the ceiling, spinning your chest off to the left. And exhale, thread the arm underneath you. One more time like that, we'll hold. Inhale, reach the arm up. Exhale, thread it underneath you. Just stay for a few breaths this time. And if it feels comfortable to do so, you can tiptoe your right fingertips forward, just deepening the stretch a little. Walk your right hand back to where it started. Press down into it to lift the left arm back up. And then take your left hand down underneath your nose. Reach your right arm up to the ceiling, opening the chest. And then as you exhale, you can thread the arm under you. Inhale, reach the arm back up to the ceiling. exhale, thread the arm down. Last time, reach the arm up, breathe in. Exhale, thread the needle. Stay this time, maybe creeping the left fingertips forward to the front of the mat. Do nice inhales and exhales here. Take your left hand back under your nose, reach your right arm up to the ceiling, breathe in, and then exhale to let the hand go. Come back into tabletop, and then just take a few moments to move however your body craves here. So maybe combining some of those side bends and flexion and extension, and just rotating the chest around, moving a little side to side, up and down. Getting the head, the neck, the hips involved. Just a few more breaths. All right, come back to neutral. We're gonna come down onto our backs for the next two shapes, and I'll show you standing up the shape that we're gonna be taking, and then I'll show you it on our mat. So you're gonna take what's called banana asana. And what that looks like on your mat is your feet come off to the left, and then your arms come off to the left overhead. So the hands could be separated, or to make things a little deeper, you can take your left hand around the right wrist and maybe give it a gentle tug. And then you can take your right ankle around the left one and also give that a gentle tug. And you want to make sure your shoulders are in the same plane, hips are in the same plane as you're taking this gentle side body bend. And you'll do that lying down. So come down onto your back. Finding symmetry first, and then you'll take your feet over to the left and take your arms overhead over to the left. And if for some reason it's not comfortable to have the arms overhead, you can instead, have them in a cactus shape or even off to the side alongside your body, but having the arms overhead does make this stretch a little deeper. But you don't need to be at 100% when you start. We're not staying in this shape very long, so it's okay to maybe go a little deeper than you would if you were in a 5-minute yin shape. But we're still so early in the practice, so take things slow. Either stay here or cross your right ankle over the left. Maybe take your left hand around the right wrist, giving it a gentle tug. Then just breathe into the side body here. Just a few more breaths. Good. Come back to neutral, walking the hands, the legs into center. Take your arms alongside you, just in a momentary Shavasana. And you could be in a moment of stillness here, or if you want to shake off any loose energy, you might just shake the fingers, shake the toes, shake the shoulders a little. And then you'll set up for your banana asana on the second side. So again, what that looks like on your mat would be the feet off to the right this time, the arms off to the right, either hands, feet separated, or the right hand reaches onto the left wrist, and the left ankle crosses over the right ankle. So just getting that side body extension through the left side. So come into that shape. Feet come off to the right. Arms come off to the right. Take a moment to settle here. Notice how the second side feels compared to the first. Maybe you stay where you are, or maybe you take the cross of the ankle and the reach of the wrist. And let yourself settle. Chocolate and banana. Does anyone else think that's the perfect combination? A few more breaths. take the hands and the feet back through center. Draw your arms alongside you and either find a moment of stillness, or you can again just give your body a little shake, 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 shake. Maybe let anything go with a sigh. Good, and then rock onto your right side. And lift yourself up to seated. And we'll set up for our first restorative shape. So what you'll want for this first restorative shape, and this prop setup we're going to be using for the next 3 shapes, including our Shavasana. So you'll set this up, we'll take a minute or so to set it up, and then you'll just let the props stay as they are, more or less. So what you'll want for this first shape is 2 yoga blocks, and you'll set them onto a ramp. So one block can come to the medium height and the next can come to the lowest height. And then on top of that, you will take a bolster or a cushion, like this. And then some extra props you can have off to the side. You can have an eye pillow. You'll maybe be using that for your neck or for your eyes when we come onto our back. And then 2 blankets. One blanket is going to be for the head. So you'll take it not up to the top, towards the top of the blanket. And then the other is going to be for the back of the hips. Now the first of these shapes, it's actually going to be 4 total shapes. The first of these shapes that we'll come into is symmetrical. It's a child's pose. And actually for child's pose, you might even want a 3rd blanket if you have it handy. So if you have it, you can grab it. If not, no worries. So to set up for child's pose, you'll take this structure of the props, and then you'll take your knees to surround this bolster. And then this other blanket can either go over the hips, or if you have any issues with the knees or ankles, it might be nice to take this blanket, 1, 2, maybe 3, even if your knees are really tight, underneath your hips. So in between the hips and heels. Have your eye pillow around you, around the back of your neck. And then start to walk your hands forward. And you can either start with your left ear down onto the towel or blanket, or it can be your right ear. But I'll tell you when we're about halfway through with this shape. Now this is a restorative shape, as I said, so you don't want to be feeling a really deep stretch here. The goal of restorative yoga is to let the body unwind. You're not really looking for a stretch, you're looking for a softness. And from that softness, you can allow the mind to settle. Allow the parasympathetic, the rest and digest nervous system to turn on. And allow yourself to come into a little more stillness, both in your body and in your mind. So since we're in this shape a little longer, if there's at any point any kind of discomfort, notice it. And if that discomfort becomes pain, then of course you want to move. Shift something so that you can find ease. If it helps to focus on the breath to allow the mind to settle, you can do so. And if you're focusing on the breath, see if you can breathe into the back of the heart. And just watching the back of the heart as it fills and softens. As the body softens, see if you can invite the mind to follow. And we're at about halfway, so switch your ear to the second side. And at this halfway point, just take inventory for a moment. So notice if anything in your body feels uncomfortable. And again, if there's discomfort, notice that, but if there's pain, what can you shift? Invite your awareness to the breath once again. And then keep your body soft as you start to lift yourself back upright. Come into a neutral upright spine. Notice how your body feels in this moment. And keep this softness, this ease as we transition to our next shape. So you're going to keep this same exact setup for our next shape. The next shape is a variation on what we call in Yin Yoga deer pose. So to come into this shape, you can take your left hip to the edge of the bolster. And then you can stack your knees one on top of the other. You'll stack the knees, the thighs, the shins, and take this blanket and just set it over your hips here. So inviting a little bit more warmth into this space around the hips, around the abdomen. And this is a twisting shape, so you can bring your chest towards the bolster. You don't have to be all the way squared to the bolster. The deeper you come towards square, the more kind of extreme of a twist it is. So just notice what your body needs in this moment. Hello, Blue, who's come to join. Take your body, or take your, what is this called? Eye pillow. Take your eye pillow, set it around the back of your neck if you have it. And then settle yourself down onto your bolster. And if you want, something that's nice to do here is to take a little bit of space in between those blocks so that you can hug your arms around the first block. So you're getting this feeling of hugging onto something as you're taking this restorative shape. And that hug that you're giving yourself, that also just invites your mind, your body to settle. Your left ear can be down, or if you want to deepen the twist into the cervical spine, into the neck, you could take your right ear down instead. If you have any neck discomfort in the neck, any pain there, then you'll want to keep the left ear down if that feels better. And just notice. And breathe. contact with your breath once again, filling the back of the heart space. And then use your hands to lift yourself back upright. And we'll switch to the second side, but before we do, if you want just a little bit of movement, you could find that by taking a round or two of cat and cow, or you could find a little more stillness. And the setup for deer on the second side is pretty much the same. You'll take your right hip this time to the edge of the bolster. If you have a blanket, again, you'll take it over the hips. The legs can be stacked, or if that's not comfortable to have the legs stacked, I didn't mention this on the first side, but they can also be spaced out in any way if that feels more comfortable. So these restorative shapes are a lot more about how the shape feels rather than what they look like. So you want to set up for a shape that makes sense for your body. Chest moves towards square with the bolster, doesn't have to be completely square. And then you'll take your right ear down. Maybe you thread your arms through that space between the blocks if you can do it. And you can let yourself soften. And I didn't mention this on the other side, but one great variation for this shape, if you have any abdominal discomfort or are pregnant or just had a baby, is to instead just take this on the side. So the belly spins towards the wall that you're facing rather than down to the bolster. But whichever variation you have of this shape in this moment, let yourself soften into it. Let your whole body be soft. Invite yourself to feel safe, to feel held, to feel supported by the props. in and out the back of the heart. Press down through your hands and lift yourself back upright. Maybe you take a moment to cat and cow the spine, or to C curve, or to do what your body needs in this moment. And we'll make our way into our final shape. This will be our Shavasana for today's practice. So if you need any extra blankets, any extra sweaters, socks, whatever you need, go ahead and set those up now. Our final shape is going to be Supta Baddha Konasana, which is the queen of restorative yoga postures. So you'll take this same setup, and then you might want 2 extra blocks if you have them handy, or an extra rolled up blanket, or an extra bolster. So you'll take those things, and then you will come to lie down with your sacrum pressed into the edge of that bolster. And then those 2 extra blocks, you'll take them down over the edges of the knees. Blanket can come over the abdomen for warmth, or you can take it all the way up onto the chest. And since we are doing this heart opening restorative practice, maybe having it on the chest is nice. So in this shape, because you have this heart opening, this space that you're cultivating across the chest, there might be this sense of vulnerability. So having this blanket over the chest kind of pacifies that opening that naturally happens in this shape. Your eye pillow can come over your eyes in this shape. And then hands can come alongside your body. Backs of the hands grounded down onto the mat, onto the earth. Let yourself invite softness again into the body and then into the mind. And breathe down beyond the heart space into the belly. Feeling yourself settling here. And as you're settling into your Shavasana, I'll read you a poem titled Love After Love by Walcott. Time will come when, with elation, you will greet yourself arriving at your own door, in your own mirror, and each will smile at each other's welcome and say, sit here, eat. You will love again the stranger who was yourself. Give wine, give bread, give back your heart to itself, to the stranger who has loved you all your life, whom you ignored for another, who knows you by heart to itself, to the stranger who has loved you all your life, whom you ignored for another, who knows you by heart. Take down the love letters from the bookshelf, the photographs, the desperate notes. Peel your own image from the mirror. Sit and feast on life. Take a final breath in. And a sigh through the lips. One more breath in. Sigh out. Shavasana. slowly start to invite a little bit of movement back, maybe just wiggling the fingers and toes. If it feels good to do so, you can yawn your arms overhead. And just let a little bit of movement expand from that yawn of the arms, maybe reaching through one side and the other. And maybe sighing out. If you have an eye pillow on your eyes, you can set it aside, but keep the eyes closed. Whatever way is easiest, maybe rocking to one side. Lift yourself up to seated. And come into an upright posture. All right, you made it to the very best part of class. So I want you to kind of keep a sense of softness, kind of some of that slow mindfulness that you might have cultivated, that clear perception maybe that came out of those restorative postures, and take that with you as we do this chocolate tasting. So get your favorite bar of chocolate, or if you don't have your favorite bar around, just get whatever you have on hand. Chocolate chips are okay, they're not the best, but do what you have. And the chocolate that I'll be tasting today, I have a bar by L'Amourette. It's handmade in San Francisco. It's chocolate, dark chocolate with figs, so really delicious. And then I have another bar. Hi, Blue, you cannot have chocolate. I have another bar that is from Preston's, which is another local chocolate company. It's chocolate with honeycomb in it. So already some kind of interesting flavors to explore. You can't have chocolate either. This bar by Preston's was delivered by a company called Towne. It's kind of a local version of Amazon. They're really great. I'll link them in the description below. And so you can get all the chocolate fix that you want from them if you're in the Bay Area. So get your bar or bars of chocolate, and the first thing that you want to do when you're approaching chocolate in a mindful way is to look at chocolate. So you want to involve all 5 senses in this process. So look first. Take your first bar. I'll take my honeycomb bar first. Hello, Blue. And then just look at the color. Look at the texture. Look at whether or not it's shiny. If it's dull or there's kind of a white coating onto it, then that could indicate some kind of spoilage, or maybe it's been in the fridge too long. As a general rule, you don't want to put chocolate in the fridge unless you live in a really hot climate, but that's another conversation. So just look at it, get a sense of how it appears, and then break it and listen. So do you hear a snap? If you're in a hot climate, you might not hear so much of a snap. Listen to how it sounds when you make that snap, when you break it in half, and then smell it. And notice what flavors might come up when you smell it. What scents? Blue, you're so attentive. And then the next step is to taste it. And I'll also link to my favorite chocolate tasting wheel. And you can kind of use that as a rough guide to the different notes that come up as you're tasting and as you're smelling as well, because most of what you smell is actually taste, or most of what you taste is actually smell rather. So if you're using that sensorial tasting wheel, you'll start from the inside and move out. So you might think, oh, this smells like flowers, and then you might move out to a more specific floral note. Or, oh, this smells like fruit, and then move to maybe apple or pear or something like that. So you'll put it in your mouth, and before you start to chew, just let it sit on your tongue. Notice the flavors as it sits on your tongue. Close your eyes if they're not. Keep noticing the flavors. And then after a few moments of allowing the chocolate to melt, you can start to chew. And see what other flavors come up. And then swallow. And before you start on your next chocolate, take a moment and notice any aftertaste. And then notice how you feel in your body. Notice how your mind feels. How do you feel, Blue? And if you have water, you'll want to cleanse your palate. So take a sip. And then we'll start with the next chocolate. So again, my next chocolate is a dark chocolate with fig in it. So it's that same process. You look, see, is it shiny? Does the light reflect off of it? Is it dark? Is it light? Is it white? Is it blue? She's not happy about that. She's like, where's my chocolate? Where's my biscuit? We'll get you a biscuit afterwards, don't worry. So you look, you listen. This is kind of harder to break. Oh, there we go. You listen. Sorry, Blue. Smell. There are definitely figs in this one. And then, after you smell, take a bite. And don't chew yet. Just let it sit on your tongue. Oh, Blue. And then, once it's started to melt a little, you can start to chew. Notice what other flavors come up. And then swallow. Take a moment. Notice how you feel. And if you want more chocolate and you have it in front of you, you can absolutely do so. But can you eat those next few bites just as slowly, just as mindfully, just as indulgently, just as passionately as you just did? If you want to pause the video and finish your chocolate, you can, or you can wait until after we ohm it out, but we're going to ohm it out. All right, take your hands to heart center, finding Anjali Mudra, gesture of the heart, and lift your sternum into your hands. Your eyes can be open or closed, or maybe your gaze is just soft. Stop, Blue. All right, thank you so much for joining me. Please come again next week, and any requests, please let me know. I hope you enjoy the rest of your chocolate and the rest of your week. Thank you.